Hi everyone and welcome to Ultimate Racing 2D2, and I thought I'd try something different by going to BTCC 1998, the scene of one of the best Toka racing games ever to have been produced on the PS1, and I thought it'd be interesting to see how it played in Ultimate Racing 2D2. This is the mod, which looks pretty fantastic in terms of the way how the cars are designed and everything that's going on here. What I've tried to do is pull out some of the tracks that you would generally find in UK racing, either from past and present, or a couple of I don't know if that Edinburgh circuit actually truly exists or not, I'm assuming it doesn't, but it was in there with AI lines too. I must admit, and it needs to be very clear up front, some of these tracks do not have the best racing lines possible, but we'll give it a go and see how this video ends up. It's 8 rounds, 15 laps per race. Weather is clear. We're going to stick with hard soft or hard tyres, but there shouldn't really be much in the way of tyre wear for these races at all, so that should be quite cool. We're sticking on no rain as well, so that it doesn't cause issues with pit lanes. Boost gets replenished every lap, a bit like Hybrid does in current BTCC. Damage is low. Yeah, penalties are high, collisions are on. Let's get going, shall we? So here we are at Alton Park for a beautifully designed custom circuit here, and it looks like David Leslie is immediately on the attack to see whether or not he can get that pole position as they make their way around the first few corners and then down into the island hairpin. This will be the scene of lots of problems, I'm sure, as it looks like Yves Muller is going to fancy a little bit of the lead. Anthony Reid's not too far behind. The field getting quite strung out there, with Tim Harvey dropping towards the back of the field, and around the final corner they come and over the line for a beautiful lap of the Alton Park circuit. Yves Muller takes pole for Audi Sport ahead of Anthony Reid. Will Hoy gets in third for the Reynard Mondeo. John Clennon fourth ahead of Rickard Rydell. David Leslie started off well, ended up down in sixth ahead of Derek Warwick. Alan Menu, Gianni Morbidelli and James Thompson rounding out your top 10. Jason Plato down in 11th ahead of Chris Baird, Paul Radicic, John Bincliffe, Peter Cox. Then the two Alfa Romeos of Lorini and Giovanardi. Tim Harvey with Lee Brooks and Rob Garrett. Rounding out the back in the Brooks Accords, and I think they'll be plucked towards the back of the field for most of this championship. So what can Muller and Reid do off the front row, side by side, and they're starting to rub wheels, and Anthony Reid goes right the way around the outside in a beautiful move to take the lead from Muller. Clennon up into third, Will Hoy drops down to fourth. We've got a mixture of hard and soft tyres here, so it looks like we are going to have some strategy play out here, depending on how well everyone goes, and it looks like the soft tyre people will have to make a pit stop, so not quite BTC norm, but there we go. But Reid leads the way then from Clennon, Muller into third, Leslie, Woy, Gianni Morbidelli there moving up into sixth, ahead of Warwick, Rydell, Menu, Thompson, Bincliffe, Plato, Radicic, Lorini and Giovanardi, Peter Cox, Baird and Tim Harvey, and then we've got the two Brooks Accords at the back. Anthony Reid pulling well away and getting off to a fantastic start for his championship with Clennon there. That's Leslie having a go at Hoy. That didn't quite work out. Yves Muller and Derek Warwick on hard tyres, looking like they're trying to get to the end of the race without a stop. This will be tricky because look at Gianni Morbidelli and Rickard Rydell and Alan Menu trying to go around the outside and doing a great job there. Menu, Morbidelli sneaking through at the chicane beautifully. Same with Rydell on the next one to get around Yves Muller, although it was a little bit more contretemps into the last couple of corners, and then Warwick's going to go around the outside. So Yves Muller, and then he was chopped off there too, really struggling up front. But Anthony Reid with this clear road in front of him, 1.5 seconds clear from Cleland. Will Hoy now under attack by David Leslie, real pushing through those chicanes. Contact Sport is BTCC, and it looks like we've got a few people well off down at that Allen Bend, or hairpin rather, and it looked like it was Giovanardi was one of them. Cycle back up to the front again. It looks as if Reid well clear, and it's helping him out that the fact that everyone else is having a proper good battle around, with Cleland, Leslie, Hoy, Gianni Morbidelli and Rickard Rydell now joining party too. Cleland getting it all horribly wrong on lap 5 of 15. Oh, and Leslie there sliphens off into the pits. He's the first one to come in. Quite a lot of damage in the Scottish car, and then he dives back out again on new soft tyres. I guess he can get to the end from here, and he's out into clear air as well, which will be very, very helpful as Tim Harvey there is trying to get around some of the other drivers. But that's a big loss of time. Is that something that can be caught up again? Not entirely sure. Reid continues to pull away though from Morbidelli, Cleland, Rydell, Menu, Will Hoy into the pits again there for the first time for him. Rejoins behind Thompson and Larini, but ahead of David Leslie. That shows you exactly how much that pit lane problem caused him. So you can see Radicic and co falling by the wayside. Much slower, although they are on hard tyres. And these drivers going around again and again and again. No one else in this time around. Looks like Nicola Larini is about to take to the pits. Lead Alfa Romeo this time around as Peter Cox goes for Chris Baird. Not quite. There you go. Giovanardi and Harvey getting through on Nicola Larini, who comes out hoping to not pit again. As into the pits comes our race leader at bang on half distance for Anthony Reid. In comes everyone else too. So that's Cleland, Morbidelli, Rydell, Menu. And look, Derek Warwick takes the lead, but that's not going to be massively sustainable because look at new tyre shod Anthony Reid with all of that clear air straight through, and he's already ahead of Yves Muller too, and back into the lead goes Anthony Reid. Not really a contest much, was it? Derek Warwick moves down to second. And look at that, Ricard Rydell has leapfrogged his teammate, who's got stuck behind Jason Plato. General Cleland has got through too. Alan Menu's trying to get round his teammate. Jason Plato doing all of the tricks in the book to make sure that he doesn't get overtaken by his teammates. This game is very true to form. Will Hoy follows on from James Thompson, David Leslie and Paul Radicic and co. With the soon-to-be-lapped Brooks cars. I think these could well be our tin-top Minardis in this mod, where they're going to end up causing problems for Anthony Reid. And look at Derek Warwick pushing to the inside and retaking the lead back. Wow! That is superb racing there by Derek Warwick, who's been able to hold on into the slipstream. Anthony Reid using some of his boost to get back fast again and back into the lead. Whew! Well, that was close. And look, Lee Brooks now having to move over for Ricard Rydell. That's John Clennon getting past Steve Muller as well. Will Hoy has caught Gianni Morbidelli as he tumbles back down the order. Menu's past Plato now, who's now got Thompson and Leslie for company, with Paul Radicic kind of running next alongside. So it's Rob Gravitt now going a lap down, and you're nearly caught up with Fabrizio Giovanardi too, as that looks like Cleland versus Warwick. Battle of teammates. One on hard tyres, one on soft. And you have to say, actually, if you're thinking of teammate on teammate action, that's taken to lap 13 for Cleland to get back past Warwick. And Warwick is quite damaged, so you have to kind of go, actually, the strategies were closer than what we might have thought. Anthony Reid has really looked like he's been under control, but is he? Because with one lap to go, here comes Ricard Rydell, about to make his Ford Mondeo very, very personally responsible for trying to get the win on this Alton Park circuit. Round onto the final lap then. Anthony Reid still leads the way from Rydell. Cleland. Will Hoy has moved up into fourth ahead of Morbidelli, who's got round Warwick. Warwick dropping like a stone, heavily damaged, and I think just being bullied out of the way. But it looks as though on this last lap Rydell's made a mistake, because Anthony Reid has pulled out half a second and is now absolutely bombing it round these last couple of corners for a fantastic win for Anthony Reid. Ricard Rydell comes home second. John Cleland's going to grab third. Then it will be Will Hoy, Gianni Morbidelli, and Derek Warwick just grabs sixth from Alan Menu, Yves Muller. David Leslie will be 9, Plato 10, Thompson 11, Radicic, then Chris Baird. John Bincliffe, a very lonely and non-stopping 14th ahead of Peter Cox. Tim Harvey is just going to hold off Nicola Larini, just. Giovanardi, Gravitt and Brooks round out your finishes. Ricard Rydell. Well, I thought he'd got that fastest lap with the way how he closed down on Anthony Reid, but ultimately wasn't able to do much about it. And you can see the rest of the drivers piling through. Alfa Romeo and Brooks Accord backing up the end of the pack. I don't think we'll be too happy with that. No changes obviously in the Drivers' Championship. We're doing this whole like my way of scoring, going from 1st to 19th scoring with only last place not scoring anything. That looks like it could well be a Gravit versus Brooks battle for the wooden spoon there, of who gets that last non-point. Then you can see in constructors, Volvo Racing leads Vodafone Primera, Vauxhall, Vectra not too far behind. So we're now off to the sole base track in the game. It's at Silverstone. Now this one very well will be a pit stoppy one, I imagine, because it's a much longer track. And who is off to a cracker? It looks like Rickard Rydell, and again Derek Warwick and Anthony Reid pulling away quite nicely in early on in this track. But John Cleland looks like he quite fancies getting the Scots onto the pole position. Whether he can hold it on or not is another matter, and you can see how Rickard Rydell is able to just inch away down the straight, showing the superior power of that car and into the lead. And pole position goes Rickard Rydell in the Volvo. Sorry, I think I called that a Ford Mondeo earlier in this race. Clearly not. The Lagunas doing much better. The Renault cars, there's 5th and 7th. Reid down in 4th, ahead of teammate Leslie, but very evenly matched. There's the Ford Mondeos further down the field in 12th and 13th for Baird and Hoy. And Tim Harvey down in 17th, sandwiched in an Alfa Romeo collective. So, again a mixture of softs and hards. I think I would want to stay on softs because it was clear on race 1 just how good that extra grip was. And Rickard Rydell is putting this to great use up front ahead of James Thompson, who runs wide and allows John Cleland to try and get back through again, but manages to hold off and then comes a great guns down the hanger straight to take the lead from Rickard Rydell, runs out wide and then scoops it up, regains first position. Beautifully done there by James Thompson. Rydell, Reid. Look at Alain Menu diving around everywhere. The Frenchman managing to get himself up into 4th position, soon to be 3rd as he knocks Anthony Reid out of the way and immediately is onto the back of Rickard Rydell. But look at James Thompson pulling well clear as Alain Menu steams through on the overtake line. Anthony Reid having a little look though too, and he now gets back up into 2nd, and it's kind of caught them back up again to James Thompson. Rydell, Cleland, Muller, Warwick. That's Gianni Morbidelli about to take 2 with 1 as he gets round Warwick and Leslie. But Leslie on the hard tyres, the lead hard tyre runner, but they're dropping way back. Same with Jason Plato too. Even, look, Lee Brooks is able to get ahead of some people there as Rob Gravit's dropped off the back of the field already. Giovinardi not having a good start either. But Menu there leads, unseen by us. Reid's got round Thompson too. Reid dives down the inside for turn 2. Gets it nicely as they go around Luffield. Very skiddy that corner. John Cleland has joined onto the back. Oh, what happened to James Thompson there? Just was absolutely beasted. Surely some boost being used there. Or hybrid, if we're pretending we're in BTCC 2023, circa 1998. John Cleland about to take over on lap 5 of 15 and go into 2nd position. Menu being slightly attacked, but this is once again allowing Anthony Reid, who's kind of got into a little clear space, to get just over a second's advantage. And it's all about that seemingly simple push of being able to just stay on their own. Look at Radicic and Harvey having a torrid time trying to get round Lee Brooks and failing quite miserably. The Brooks Accord there holding its own up against some much heavily suited teams and drivers, as Anthony Reid there now starting to get closed down on slightly by Rydell and Cleland and Menu. They need to stop scrapping with each other. Menu having a poor run through the Beckett's complex to be able to kind of close back in again. They seem to have the actual outright pace as Rickard Rydell is closing back down again on Reid as we get to the edge of adhesion of these tyres, and I think we'll start to see pit stops at the end of the next lap if no one's in this time around. No, they're not. Look, that was 1.5 seconds. Now it's 0.6 as Rydell We know he's got superior straight line speed as well. Who's in? No one. No, continuing round again. I would chop this race in half, personally, if I was on the tyre strategies, but no one else wants to. Peter Cox doing not too bad a job. Another one past. Well, no, Brooks has got background Giovanardi. Because it's Lee Brooks that's in the pits, he's doing the first one to pop in, which now kind of signals to me others will come in too, and indeed they do. It's Reed ahead of Muller, who's got into second ahead of Rydell, Cleland and Menu, so that surprised me. David Leslie goes round and will take the lead of this race briefly. Oh, that was brief. Briefer than an attempt of Scottish independence. Oh, political, let's not try that. I support everyone's decisions. Muller up into second, then trying to chase down his teammate, but look at David Leslie clearly using the slipstream and some good speed down the straight to get himself back up into second position. But Yves Muller trying to get around the outside, and this is just playing beautifully again into Anthony Reid's hands. Not the fastest car out there, but seemingly the one that's able to have the cleanest races to be able to do something about it. Derek Warwick now down into 7. Peter Cox has moved up into the top 10, which I think is a great run for him, although it looks like Jason Plato is about to say something about it. Indeed he is. About to go side by side and zonta Warwick. Not quite. Not quite. Nearly though. Will Hoy there gets past Bincliffe as well. Hoy not quite running at the same level as before, as Yves Muller takes the lead of this race. Beautifully done. They're going to have a problem soon, because those Brooks Accords are going to cause problems for this lead duo potentially, as Muller, well, he smashes Gravit out of the way, and actually if he can get around Brooks quite easily too, which he does, that's probably a net gain for Muller. As Reid now has to deal with Brooks down the straight, who is not moving out of the way quite so nicely. Then runs wide, lets him through. James Thompson now into 4th position, but that's kind of allowed Alan Menu to drop from the lead duo. Then it's Morbidelli who's moved up into 5th. That's a good net gain through the traffic. Maybe that was David Leslie anticipated, or initiated, sorry, because he is struggling on those hard tyres and having damage too. Then it's Cleland and Rydell. Plato, Cox and Hoy. Warwick dropping down the field. Then it's Baird, Bincliffe, Radicic and Larini having a good old squabble. That's Tim Harvey going a lap down. And again, these lapped trafficked cars play into who people that are able to just kind of steambowl their way through. And this seems to be what Yves Muller has done. He's got 1.2 second advantage over Anthony Reid. Menu struggling to get around Giovanardi through through the old thing. Much harsher there with Tim Harvey. Morbidelli's got round James Thompson in all of this too, so again plenty of fun to be had for him and Ricard Rydell. Oh, that's a bit wide. That'll let John Clennon back through, and indeed it does. Lee Brooks being sent out wide, and David Leslie really having a struggle bus towards the end of this, again showing that it's not about having hard tyres, as Yves Muller takes the win of the race ahead of Anthony Reid, but a great result for the team, a 1-2. Alan Menu grabs 3rd, Gianni Morbidelli a surprise 4th, James Thompson in 5th, John Cleland 6th, Ricard Rydell 7th, David Leslie hung on for 8th in the end after all that. Peter Cox a great 9th ahead of Jason Plato 10, Will Hoy, Derek Warwick, Chris Baird, John Bincliffe just crossing the line ahead of Nicola Larini, who beat out Paul Radicic by quite some way in the end, actually, after all of that. Ahead of his SO Ultron's 406 teammate Tim Harvey, who was 7 seconds further back despite having a better fastest lap. Giovanardi not really featuring at all, and Brooks beat out Gravit again there. Was it again, or are they one apiece? No, they're one apiece. But it is Anthony Reid, though, that leads the way from Yves Muller. They're not even teammates. Sorry, they were looking quite silvery to me. So many mistakes. You can tell about practice from this, can't you? Rydell has one more point than teammate Morbidelli. Then Cleland, Menu down in 6th, Will Hoy 7th, more courtesy of round 1's results. Well clear of teammate Baird as well. Audi's John Bintcliffe needs to have a decent result, well off his teammate. And that's kind of what is buggered up Audi slightly in the constructors, because it's the Vodafone Primera GT that leads the way by 1 point from the Volvo. A little gap back to the Vauxhall Vectras. Round 3, we're off to Broad Oak for another downloaded track. Again, be kind to some of these AI lines, they are not perfect. As you can see with that curbing. But I think it's great to showcase just what people are doing with some of these tracks. And I really appreciate the Ultimate Racing 2D2 community who are able to pull together some beautiful looking tracks and some great fun here. Around Broad Oaks, which Alan Menu is currently leading the way on, although Anthony Reid is absolutely bombing it down the back straight, which is curvier than my waistline, to take back the lead as we get into the final hairpin. And it looks as if Anthony Reid is going to take a juicy pole from Menu, and James Thompson rounds out 3rd position. So quite a clear and decisive one, the most decisive so far. Thompson in the Team Honda Accord sits in 3rd ahead of David Leslie, Warwick and Plato. So some clear wins there again. Problems for the Alfa Romeos and the Brook Accords towards the back. So, this one's got high problems with tyre wear, and Alan Menu clearly using all of his boost straight away to get into the lead ahead of David Leslie. Reid drops down to 3rd, then it's Thompson, Plato. Will Hoy's made a great start up into 6th place and he's on hard tyres, but everyone is going to need to pit here. So, do you go soft hard? Do you go hard soft? Do you go hard hard? Do you go soft soft soft? Who knows? As Alan Menu bombs his way through, Anthony Reid saving some of his boost for later on in the lap to get up into 2nd past teammate Leslie. Runs out wide, shuffled by Plato and Leslie, and Plato moves up into 2nd for what is looking like a great start to the Renault team's race there. Then it's Hoy, Cleland, Warwick. There's John Bintcliffe pushing his way through, looking like he's going to get himself on in the action. Gets round the inside of Derek Warwick. Is he able to hold it through the S's? Who knows? Then it's Morbidelli getting bound Warwick to Muller not too far behind, but that's not exactly where you'd expect last race's winner to be stuck behind his teammate, who is well outside the top 10 in the championship. Now he's not, but he was outside the top 10 in this race too. Radicic doing a decent run in the soft tyres as well. It's a real drop towards the back though, with quite a few drivers falling off the back, but it's Jason Plato who's taken over from Alain Menu in the lead, unseen by us. Anthony Reid has gone with them. David Leslie looks like he's now cleared Will Hoy, who's on hard tyres in all of that as well, which really makes his start even more impressive. Then it's Cleland, Bintcliffe, Paul Radicic having by far his strongest showing, now up into what was briefly 9th, now back down to 10th. No, he's still in 9th, sorry, ahead of Derek Warwick, but he runs wide and that allows Warwick through. Rickard Rydell again trying to burn from the back. He's not had great starts, Rickard Rydell, but he's taken Warwick there, and I think he might have a go at Radicic. Oh, no, he won't, because Yves Muller's going to try and dive down the inside. What was an attack for Radicic, ended up losing him 2 positions as they wander themselves around all of these different layouts and S's and fast sweeping curves. Beautiful track, this one. Jason Plato leads the way though, still just under a second from Menu. Reid, Leslie, Morbidelli, Hoy, Cleland, Bintcliffe, Muller, Radicic and Rydell being shoved out wide. I'm not sure I'd want to be on these hard tyres too much. So that's Giovanardi finally getting round Lee Brooks. We've got it just at the back of the field there. Then it is Jason Plato now still leading the way, but look at the way our Alain Menu just closes into the back there. Really interesting stuff. Anyone pitting this time around early on? Don't think they are. Jumping Cliff might with that damage, but no. Oh, Radicic runs out wide and then decides, sod it, time for the pits. Oh, Warwick in on hard tyres. That surprises me. Radicic comes back out on hard and Warwick comes back out on softs. That feels like the wrong way. But oh well. Might be a two-stopper for Warwick. Rob Gravit's in as well. But look, Menu under attack and into the lead. He goes past Plato. Not for long. Plato retakes the lead. Oh, and then Menu dives into the pits. That could have been nasty as Leslie and Reed in two. And that's going to cause a problem for Reed. It's going to cause a problem for Leslie and for Cleland. Look at the way they're all pushing each other around. That has really wrong-footed everyone. Oh, and then Leslie comes out and smashes straight into Rydell. That's BTCC action for you, if ever I've seen one. Jumping Cliff moves up into a temporary fourth position. Who's leading the way? It's still Jason Plato. Will Hoy, without a stop so far on those hard tyres, going as long as he can, I think could very well be in a strong position here, because he'll be back out again on soft tyres. Interestingly though, Menu went soft, and I think it's going to try and drag it around for a one stop. There's Will Hoy into the lead in that Ford Mondeo. So enjoy the peak whilst you can. Menu versus Plato, and it looks like Menu's got it for the time being, but Plato's on newer rubber, gets up to speed, floors it down on the boost and takes over the lead. The slipstream effect around this circuit is absolutely superb as they go around the Among Us painting in the grass. I would race this circuit in real life. It's got a proper good flow to it. I really like it. Reminds me a little bit of like a tiny Mugello. As Will Hoy leads the way from Plato now up into second. Then it's Menu. And this is all relevant because if Will Hoy probably will pit and will need to pit, but he'll be on soft tyres that will not be knackered and may very well be able to do a little burn from the back right at the end here. So really interesting stuff from the different drivers. Morbidelli then ahead of Reed, who's dropped down to 6th on hard tyres, so he went soft hard. That is Cleland getting past James Thompson. Jumping Cliff's all on his own, as is Rickard Rydell. Chris Baird is about to get done by Derek Warwick and Yves Muller, who's not having the strongest run here. It's Harvey versus Giovanardi at the back of the field. And there are our two mean green bean machines. Quite literally, coffee bean machines. Plato and Menu pulling away then from Leslie. They both got round, all three of them, sorry, have got round Will Hoy, who I think will do well probably to pit now and then come out on soft tyres and go to the end if he can. By far the highest non-stopper. Chris Baird down in 13th is the next one. But look, Plato and Menu back in it. That's why I was saying, like, come in and pit. It's worthwhile doing it. David Leslie has gone round again. There's Anthony Reed up into what is now second position, and he's got decent hard tyres. Is Leslie going to try and hang it out in the lead and try and get the Scots win? Look at Menu and Plato straight round Cleland immediately. Cleland on knackered soft tyres. Will Hoy on new softs. He needs to make sure he doesn't get stuck behind John Bincliffe, who's got an awfully good run on him, and through goes John Bincliffe up into 6th position. Hoy down to 7, then it's Rydell and Morbidelli. As into the pits comes Cleland and Leslie, and the lapped Lee Brooks as well, and that pops Leslie back out in 4th position ahead of Bincliffe and Hoy and Rydell, and that's going to allow Will Hoy to get round Bincliffe, who gets boxed in by Lee Brooks in the Accord. Problems there for Bincliffe. Not his finest lap, but still his finest result so far this season if he can keep it up. Reed though leading the way for now, but Menu and Plato are closing down, but their tyres are going to roll off the clock so quickly compared to Reed's hards tyres. So this is going to be a real battle of, do these softs drop off quicker than Reed's hards do, and it all kind of mishmashing together. That looked like problems for Reed getting around Rob Gravett ever so slightly. Hoy, Leslie, Bincliffe, Rydell, Morbidelli, Cleland. Then a gap back to Muller, Thompson, Radicic up in 12th. Then it's Warwick, Cox and Baird, Larini, Harvey, Giovanardi, Gravett and Brooks. And look at this, it's under a second now between Reed, Menu, Plato still in and about. It's getting so close with just 2 to go. And look, the crossover between the hard and soft tyres, it's still in Menu's favour. Reed skidding around, Menu runs wide. That was a little bit too much on the throttle on the exit. That really makes it difficult for Alan Menu. But look at the way that he just sucks himself back up in again, and then the slipstreaming around these fast curves through the S's, and he's pushing Anthony Reed down into the final corner there, round what I would call the sperm head hairpin. But Reed still leads it as we get onto this final lap. Now look at Alan Menu blasting around the outside. Can he hold it around the outside? Yes, he can. Beautifully done there by Menu. And look, just in time before the soft tyres become more knackered than the hard, Reed might have an outside shot of being able to take back this lead. But I think he's going to have more problems with Jason Plato about to make it a green bean machine 1-2. Ooh, Reed closes the door. Plato having none of that, dives down the inside, and that's a beautifully done move there as the Menu gets his way past Tim Harvey. Reed's not had enough of it though and comes back through. But it's a win for Alain Menu. Ahead of Anthony Reed second, Jason Plato third, David Leslie gets a decent fourth. John Bincliffe ends up fifth in the end after all of that. Ahead of Will Hoy and John Cleland, Johnny Morbidelli, Rickard Rydell, Yves Muller. Then it was Thompson. Warwick's about to grab 12th. Is he? No. Peter Cox grabs it at the line. Then it's Radicic who really dropped back towards the end there, as did Baird. Then Larini, Giovanardi, Harvey, Gravitt and Brooks will be your runners and riders. Jason Plato, the only driver to get under a 35-second lap as well, only just. But that's a bonus point for the Englishman. Who else did well there? So that was the best result there for John Bincliffe. James Thompson started so well and fell back so much. And yeah, Anthony Reed, that consistency of 3 podiums in 3 starts is really helping him out in this championship. Menu moves up into second ahead of Muller. Cleland, Rydell, Morbidelli on equal points, with Will Hoy popping himself back up into the mix. David Leslie's best result moves him up into 8th in the championship, and Jason Plato's best result moves him into 9th, so that's helpful for him. 4 drivers yet to hit double digits. In the constructors, it is still the Vodafones leading the way, but the Nescafe Lagunas moving on up. The Volvos hit 100 points too. Other interesting battles, there's a battle for 6th in the constructors between Mondeo and the Honda Accords, and of course the battle for 4th there, only a point between the Vauxhall and Audis. Much pride at stake there. So from one seemingly fictional track to another, we're off to Edinburgh. Here we go, round the almost oval-like bend there and then into Car Park Central. That's not quite the racing line, but okay, we'll go with it. It works for me. It's Derek Warwick that leads the way ahead of David Leslie. David Leslie, I'm sure, would love to have pole position on his home country circuit, I guess. Lots of Scots in this 1998 mod wanting to prevail, but Derek Warwick, wham bam lamb. We've not seen that kind of lead in the Vauxhall Vectra all season long, but that was a great result there from Warwick. Leslie Plato, Reed down in 4th. Thompson again doing very well in the Honda. Peter Cox up in 8th too. Look at Menu down in 10th. That won't do very well at all. And shout out to Lee Brooks getting past Nicola Larini, so that he was not on the back row for the first time this year. Okay, again it looks like we've got pit stop galore. Do you go soft or hard? And there's actually more hards than there are softs, as David Leslie moves into the lead ahead of Warwick, Plato, Reed. Thompson is ahead of Rydell but runs out wide, and that's actually caused problems way the way back there, allowing Cleland to get through. And I think this is going to be a really interesting race here as they make their way through the Scottish flag complex. moving their way through. It looks like everyone has just about survived. Lee Brooks having a torrid start. But David Leslie leads the way. Scott's up front on the Scottish home soil. Then it's Warwick, Rydell, Reid, Morbidelli taking the real racing line there. Ahead of Muller, Thompson. That's Paul Radicic again running out wide. That gravel on the exit of that turn really causing problems for people, but more problems for David Leslie and Derek Warwick. They've both lost out, and that's put Rickard Rydell into the lead and on soft tyres too, with an advantage. Plato moves into the second position. That was a real drama there for Leslie and Warwick. One got onto the gravel, caught the other one up, and they couldn't get out of it very quickly at all. And that's caused real problems. Warwick and Leslie again doing the same mistakes, dropping further back into 5th and 6th. This is causing absolute toil and trouble as Rydell then leads the way from Plato, Reid. Morbidelli sneaked through too. Leslie's now seemingly got himself back in the mix as they dive past Anthony Reid, his teammate. And then there we go, Morbidelli and really running out wide there, Leslie, having massive problems. And they want to get past these hard-shod runners because Plato and Reid are punching well above their weight on the hard tyres and holding everyone else up. So whilst Rydell is able to kind of get away from it slightly as Leslie makes another mistake, as does Warwick, those two can't keep away from each other, can they, in this race? Causing real problems. The other thing here is that James Thompson is absolutely hugely damaged and I think might want to pit. No, he's not. He's keeping around again, but he's losing so much time down the straight. That's ridiculous. Muller really damaged too. In fact, quite a lot of damaged cars in this race because of the way how they're kind of clonking the concrete and each other. Will Hoy having an absolutely poor race down in 17th, it must be said too. 16th now. So real toil and trouble for some of these drivers. Anyone pitting this time around? No, but Anthony Reid's about to be bossed by Derek Warwick. Well, it might not be Paul Radicic there, pouring smoke out the back of his car. That's not going to be the fastest way around. Tim Harvey able to get through. That's the highest Tim Harvey's been all season long, up in 13th place. See how that goes as Rickard Rydell continues round again. Plato about to be done by Gianni Morbidelli to make it a 1-2 for the Rydell Morbidelli squad. Then it's Plato. Warwick gets round Leslie, or does he? No, he doesn't. David Leslie gets back. Leslie has great pace if he can just keep it on the road. Same with Warwick too. Then runs out wide. That's allowed Anthony Reid back through again, and that's probably split those two up, which might be good for the pair of them. Everyone else running around. Peter Cox about to get past Paul Radicic, but both cars absolutely broken. And Rydell 5 seconds clear of what is now Leslie and Reid because Morbidelli made a mistake. Oh my goodness me. Plato made one too because this is a total change around. Anthony Reid going from 6th to 2nd in just over a lap and a bit. Crazy stuff going on here. Leslie struggling somewhat. Warwick gets past Plato. Morbidelli's dropped down with some mistakes. There's James Thompson with smoke coming out the rear, but still carrying on. Anthony Reid now a second faster than Rydell that lap. Leslie, Plato, Warwick and co, they're all steaming through. I'm a bit worried that no one's pitted. Have we got a pit lane line on for this track? This could all go horribly wrong. Rob Gravitt has got round Bincliffe as well. Yeah, I've got a funny feeling that no one's going to pit. Uh-oh! But Rickard Rydell continues to run on. There's Reid, there's Plato, there's Warwick, Leslie, Morbidelli, Cleland. This could well be a battle of pure attrition then as we move into lap 11 of 15, because when the tyres hit like literally 0, they're all just going to skid around ridiculously, aren't they? And that will mean hard tyres runners will get to the end quite nicely. And look at Anthony Reid about to boss around the outside of Rickard Rydell. Oh, he's shown the gravel. Rydell trying desperately to hold on. He's done it somehow. Once again, no one pitting. And look at Jason Plato is caught up onto the back of this because of how slow they're all going. Oh, Rydell skidding off into the gravel. That's not helped. And now look at Jason Plato about to push Reed out to the outside gravel. Reed then ducks back through around this skiddy complex of left and right corners and pops himself into the lead. John Bincliffe is absolutely dead last, so this is going to be a best result so far for the Accords, if this works quite nicely. I think Radicic has been in problems. Oh, no, it's Giovanardi, sorry, that was dropping back as Reed pops a lap on Bincliffe. And yeah, look, Rydell's tyre's absolutely gone. And I think we're going to see all the soft-tyred runners, unlike other races where it's normally the people that stop that do well, this is going to be the one where everything goes horribly wrong. And look at that, Tim Harvey up into 8th position, by far his best run of the season. Will Hoy to 9, Menu down to 10, Leslie's dropped out of the top 10, Morbidelli is almost conked out entirely by the looks of it. And here we are, lap 14, Anthony Reid leading the way. Muller having an absolute disaster there, as look at Lee Brooks managing to scoop his way through. He gets now lapped by people, but Morbidelli was second place at one point. Now look at him, he's a lapped 15th. Smoke pouring out of the back, no tyres at all, and Lee Brooks might well have him quite quickly too. As Anthony Reid starts his final lap, we'll pretend that the pit lane was closed due to a safety problem. As look at David Leslie struggling and going off-road in that BTCC. Reid sneaks his way through. Hard-tired runners, your dayeth hath cometh. And it's a fantastic win for Anthony Reid. Lucky. Oh, hello, Jason Plato nearly gets it at the end, but Reid holds on for the win. Plato second. James Thompson is going to be third in the Honda Accord. Great stuff for him. John Clenland will be fourth. Chris Baird gets a best of the season in 5th. Rickard Rydell, top soft-tyred runner in 6th. Tim Harvey scrabbles home for 7th ahead of Will Hoy 8, Paul Radicic 9. Nicola Larini's going to grab a top 10 for the Alfa Romeo team. They'll lap that up. Then it's Warwick. Rob Gravitt's going to get 12th as well. That is a superb piece of driving there from them, with Lee Brooks in 13th. Again, hard tyres prevailing beautifully. Then it was Menu, Leslie, Morbidelli, Muller, Giovanardi, Cox and John Bincliffe not scoring a point at all. Indeed, Audi only scoring 3. Is absolutely going to chonk up and ruin their championship constructors charge. So a wildly weird race has big consequences on the championship, because at halfway Anthony Reid is romping away with it. Alain Menu is now equal on points with John Cleland after all of that, with 2nd and 3rd. Jason Plato moves up to 4th, and he was, I think, 8th last time around. Rickard Rydell slips down to 5. Then it's James Thompson, Will Hoy, Muller, Jenny Morbidelli, and David Leslie moves down to 10th. Baird moves up into 12th with that run of form, and then the other kind of juicy things there is that Rob Gravitt, with that huge result, moves up into 18th, scoring more points than Fabrizio Giovanardi, which I don't think anyone would have thought of, considering he'd come in from the ITC with such huge, I guess, name checking and reputation. That's the word I'm looking for. Tim Harvey also, and Nicola Larini, getting big points. Doesn't affect them too much in the actual championship standings, but it pulls them well clear of that bottom trio. In the constructors, again, all change. Not up top though. Vodafone Primera GT lead the way from the Nescafe Lagunas, who pull well clear of the Volvos, who did not have a good day at all. The other problems there is that Audi, with their poor run of form, dropped down to 6th, nearly behind the Team Hondas. The SO Ultrons pull clear of the Alfa Romeos too, who pull clear of the Brookses actually, but everyone's scores looking much more healthier, which is good. Into the second half of the race, and we're off to Snetterton this time around. What can Anthony Reid do here with a championship that looks absolutely bolted on, frankly? And like he is ready for success. James Thompson leads out initially as we get round the end of Sector 1 and romping our way round this Snetterton circuit. The longest one on the BTCC schedule currently, as they don't do the full Silverstone layout. But it looks like Alain Menu, Anthony Reid and James Thompson are going to be our top 3 in quali. In what order though, as Menu crosses the line? I think he's got it just from Reid. Reid started behind him, that's why I was just waiting to see how that played out. But he does. It's the Mean Green Bean Machine on top, followed by Reid, Thompson, Plato, Muller, Cleland, Cox, Leslie, and the 2 Ford Mondeos round out row 5 there in the top half of the field. There's your second half. The Volvos again not qualifying well. Now, this one doesn't surprise me that there's pit stops galore in it, and it will be for both sets of tyres as Thompson takes the lead ahead of Reid. Plato, Menu drops down to 4th from his pole, now back up into 3rd, but that's because he's on hard tyres and now using his boost really effectively to get back ahead of James Thompson. But once again, look, it's Anthony Reid who manages to make all of the things just fall the right way for him, and he's got a gap over the Laguna Nescafes. Thompson, Leslie, Cox having a great run there up into 6th position. Could this be his denouement of sorts? Then it is Muller, Baird up into 8th as well. Rydell made a good start. Then it's Cleland, Warwick, Morbidelli dropping back past Hoy, or down behind Hoy. Then it's Bincliffe, Radicic, Larini, Harvey, Giovanardi and the Brooks Accords at the back. And look, all of this squabbling is just allowing Anthony Reid to get away, but it's because Alain Menu is doing such a good job with those hard tyres. Remember, the softs will pit between laps 6 to 9. You'll see it in the top right hand side of your screen. The hards have got until laps 9 to 12 to pit. But again, damage will be a big factor in this, but there's a huge gap between the top 6 and then the rest of the field. There's Warwick, Rydell, Baird, Hoy, Muller, Morbidelli, Cleland, Radicic, Bincliffe, Larini, Harvey and Giovanardi. Gravit clinging onto the back there on soft tyres gamely. What happened to Anthony Reid? I'm not sure. Flick away for 2 seconds. And James Thompson has taken the lead. This is definitely the Honda's best race of the season, because Cox is up into currently 5th position, now down to 6th as Plato gets round him. Runs a bit wide in the hairpin but able to hold it, and that has now stretched out this entire lead group so that they can focus on pure pace rather than battling each other, which is crucial and key, because Baird and Morbidelli are leading Group 2 with Hoy not far behind, and they're some 4 seconds off the back of this little duo. So they pulled clear. Hoy, that's Muller. Ooh, catches the grass ever so slightly but does get past Will Hoy. Tim Harvey again waking up after the first few rounds this season. Radicic trying to do a good job of things too. Even the John Cleland pits very early on there. I don't think that's planned. That must be for damage. What's he go on to? A new set of hards? Yes, he does. He'll be able to get to the end from there as he joins back in last position. But he will have some quite knackered hard tyres, and maybe being out of sequence will help him with some cleaner traffic. James Thompson, though, leads the way, and this is great to see the Honda out front this time, especially as he's faded towards the latter half of races, either through strategy or just poor luck. Menu, though, is ahead of Plato. Then it's Leslie, Cox. Anthony Reid has dropped down to 6th position, so again another mistake for our championship leader. And this is the type of thing that the likes of Menu and Plato will absolutely love. Leslie too, of course, because they need to play the points game basically and try and suck everything back up again. And look at the way how Menu is now, with better tyre grip, starting to close in slightly on James Thompson as the field really spread out. Who's that in the pits? That's David Leslie. He's gone to hard tyres nice and early, gets out just ahead of Will Hoy. Is he able to hold him off? Looks like he can, and with no damage and new fresh tyres, that should be quite an easy fix for him. Giovanardi having his best run of the season, up in 13th at the moment, and that's very well required and needed. That's Larini back out with new hard tyres, getting around Lee Brooks. Rob Gravett not too far behind. Leader James Thompson in. Menu continues on. Plato and Cox are in too. Both Hondas in. That's Chris Baird going through, and he'll move up into the podium positions. Is he going to have a go at James Thompson? Yes, he is. Thompson says, that's all right, mate. I'll have that back through again. So we need to check out when Menu pits. Morbidelli is moved over from Jason Plato, who moves up into 4th position. No contest there. Reed versus Cox. And that looks like Anthony Reid is going to go all the way around the outside. No, he's not. Cox desperately trying to hold this off and keep the position for what is currently 7th and 8th position, but will become a little bit higher up as they shuffle Morbidelli out of the way there, Leslie and Plato with their new tyres. Chris Baird able to use James Thompson's slipstream to cling on to and hold on to a really good position. This could work out very nicely for Chris Baird because he's been able to stay and pull away there from Morbidelli by a few seconds as Alain Menu leads the way, still 4.5 seconds clear. This could be very useful for quite a few drivers here. Just taking a look down the latter half of this field, quite spread out across the team as Plato moves up into 4th, getting around David Leslie. Again, we did say pitted early. Not sure it helped him too much. There's Ricard Rydell, Giovanardi and Paul Radicic into the pits. Radicic rejoins in 14th. Fairly anonymous season so far for that team as Alain Menu pits. Comes out on soft tyres. James Thompson's taken the lead. Plato gets back through again, of course, because he's now on... Well, he's gone soft, hasn't he? Menu now with better tyres, uses his boost to get up onto the back of Plato with his slipstream. They've got the 2 Brook Accords up in between themselves and Thompson, who's got a 3-second lead. It's really worked out beautifully well for this Honda. And now look at that. Plato and Menu having to try and get round the Accords, do so quite well. Brooks then pops into the pits, almost T-boning Gravit at the same time, and here comes Menu. See what's cooking on that Menu as he goes around the outside. Plato tries to hold the line. This is all helping James Thompson quite nicely as these two battle away. Plato holds it for now. Then it's Menu. Anthony Reid struggling with teammate David Leslie. Leslie's on harder tyres. Reid is on softer tyres, but look, the crossover's starting to happen there. The softer tyres will work for now, but that harder tyre for Leslie is actually better in terms of its durability, and that's what I was saying about Chris Baird being able to hold on to James Thompson's slipstream. Now on new soft tyres, blast past Peter Cox and up into 6th position. This is looking like a great result for the Ford Mondeo driver. Then it's Morbidelli, Muller, Hoy, starting to merge them all together, mating. Harvey, that's Cleland versus Rydell. Not a great day for Cleland, unfortunately. Warwick dropping down the order 2 to further down. The Alfa Romeos were looking not too bad earlier, but have dropped off since. James Thompson now just 2 seconds clear from Alain Menu. They've got Larini between them. And then there's a bit of a gap, really, before we start to get blue flags for the next driver up. Fabrizio Giovanardi and Derek Warwick having a squabble. So Menu closing in now that he's past Plato. Reid up into 4th now, clear of Leslie. Here comes Chris Baird. Is he about to have 5th position? I think he might do. Indeed he does. Great move there. Cox down in 7th, but still a decent enough run for him. Final lap though, and it's a second between James Thompson and Alain Menu, but it looks as if James Thompson is going to potentially hold on for this win, but it's, yeah. Ooh, maybe. No, I think we're okay. Under a second though it will be as we fly through the chicane. Don't scrub off any speed for that, nor that corner, and that's why I think James Thompson will be fine, because it will just be the final little skidderoo. And James Thompson does indeed take the win at Snetterton ahead of Alain Menu. Jason Plato will be 3rd for a 2-3 for the Renault team. Chris Baird got 4th. Wow, well done. Gets around Anthony Reid and David Leslie. Then it was Peter Cox, Morbidelli, Ivan Muller will be 9th. Will Hoy grabs out the top 10, so a good day for the Mondeos in general. Harvey a good run to 11 ahead of Rydell. Bincliffe, Radicic, Cleland, Giovanardi gets ahead of Warwick, interestingly. So the Vauxhalls really didn't have a great day at all. Then it was Larini with the 2 Brooks Accords of Gravett and Brooks rounding out the field. Menu's fastest lap also helping too. But there's still a chonky gap between Reed and Menu, who is pulled slightly clear of Plato. James Thompson moves himself up into 4th with all of that. So much better run from him. Then it's Cleland, Rydell, Will Hoy in 7th. Then it's Morbidelli, Muller and David Leslie rounding out the top 10. That result for Chris Baird moves him up into 11th. Warwick's poor result keeps him in 12th. Peter Cox down in 13th, not quite running at the same level as his teammate, unfortunately, but ahead of John Bincliffe. Then the 2 SO Ultrons very evenly matched. Radicic currently scoring more than Harvey, despite Harvey having the higher peaks, it seems. Larini ahead of Giovanardi. Gravett 11 to Brooks's 8. Very close though in the constructors after Leslie's poor show. So just 6 points, and it could well be an interesting one where the constructors is totally different to the teams, because it feels like the Plato and Menu duo feels stronger and more consistent than the Vodafone one of Reed and Leslie. Real juicy battle for 4th as well, with the Team Honda Accord bouncing up courtesy of that win to 4th position. The Reynard Mondeos in 5th, and the Vauxhall Vectras down to 6th following their poor run. Fancy a bit of Donny? I think I do. Always a fun circuit to race on, and it looks as if Derek Warwick is looking like he wants to get the better of what was a poor race last time around as he blasts into the lead in that Vectra. Showing pace we've not really seen from that car all season. Outside of the Edinburgh race at least, before that all went horribly wrong for him. Okay, oh, but I think Ivan Muller is going to take the actual pole itself. Yes, he is. Nicely done there for the Audi. Then it was Reed, Rydell, Warwick, Thompson, Morbidelli, Baird, Hoy, Menu and Leslie. Interesting. And a huge gap in the championship between Reed and Menu, 2nd to 9th. The other shock there is the other green machine of Plato is only 11th ahead of Cox and Bincliffe. Top 13 under a second. Okay, again, soft-tyred runners will need to pit by the looks of it. The hard ones will be okay. Ivan Muller leads the way, or Eves as I've been calling him for half of this video. And actually the hard tyres might need to pit too, by the looks of that. It's going to be right on the cusp as Warwick there moves up into 2nd. Clearly desperate to have some fun. Rydell in hard tyres is going to take 2nd away from him though. Yes, he is, down into the hairpin. Lots of fun to be had there, and it looks as if we've got a top 11 have already pulled clear from the rest, although Will Hoy's just had a terrible final corner, making it potentially the top 10. And Reed on hard tyres has already been pushed from 2nd to 10th. That is absolutely huge for the championship if he can't start clawing some of that back or holding some weight and progress. Indeed, Bincliffe's through into 10th as well, so Reed down to 11. Warwick takes the lead from Leslie, Muller, Rydell, Morbidelli, Reed dropping back as Menu gets round Rydell, couldn't quite get past Morbidelli, and it's 3 wide into turn 1. Tricky stuff there as Leslie, Warwick, Muller and Morbidelli go at it hammer and tongs. Some really great driving going on here amongst the front lot. Then it's Menu, there's Baird getting involved, clearly rejuvenated after that fantastic 4th position last time out. Rydell dropping down to 6th now. Then it's Bincliffe, Cox, James Thompson losing out to Will Hoy, and yeah, you can see the hard-tired runners really dropping back. Reed down to 12th. That would change things for the... Oh no, that's Plato in immediately for an early stop, back onto hard tyres. yes, that will mean his one stop is done. Look at the long pit lane hold there for the team. Oh, and an interesting rejoin, I feel, from the racing line. So this could be a real key thing here as Morbidelli pops up into the lead there ahead of Muller, Leslie, Warwick. Then it's Baird, Menu, trying desperately. This is what he needs to do, is to get past some of these people quick and dirty, because if Reed is having a poor run, now down in 13th as Tim Harvey's got round him, Menu only being in 6th is not really helping his cause either, because all the people in front of him are soft, tough, tired runners, not the hard ones. And with Plato now really wrong-footed with that terrible strategy early on, having to pit for damage, and now John Bincliffe is just abusing Mellenhu's rear end. It's not helping him at all. Radicic and Reed are in early as well. This is huge. And look, Reed's had to go onto the soft tyres. That's going to absolutely knacker him at the end of this as Radicic and Reed get going again. Ahead of Plato, interestingly. So that was how poor Plato's first part of the race has gone. Reed now on soft tyres trying to get round Radicic. That's not helping him at all. David Leslie's into the pits this time, round 2, which is going to remove him from the up front equation. And I'll be interested to see where Leslie comes out in relation to Reed. Oh, sorry, it's James Thompson. And that's worked out quite nicely. Thompson ahead of Reed, but actually that kind of congeals everyone back together again, doesn't it? So the people that have gone soft early on, as Morbidelli and Warwick both pop in, Cox in 2. Morbidelli back out just behind his teammate on new softs versus old hards. So that, I think, really shows, if you've got a nice clear run, how well it can work. That's Baird getting past Muller for the lead. You would have thought Chris Baird would be back up into the lead for the second race in a row, or battling around for it, at least anyway. Is he pitting this time around? Yes, he is, as is Ivan Muller. John Bincliffe moves on, though. So, Bincliffe leads a lap in the BTCC in 1998. Morbidelli has got round teammate Rydell. Oh, Baird pops Cleland into the gravel. Muller there's going through. Menu versus Reed. Giant gap, isn't there? Larini in there at the same time too, and it's Reed battling with James Thompson. This hasn't worked out for Anthony Reed particularly at all. We're going to have to really think about how this ends towards the end of this race here, with the realigning, I guess, of different strategies as Bincliffe rejoins in 5th position. I think he could very well be on for a fantastic result here, John Bincliffe, as he goes immediately on the attack to David Leslie. So John Leslie. We aren't doing BBC Blue Peter, everyone. But Morbidelli out front, having an absolutely stonking race ahead of Chris Baird in 2nd, who's doing another stonker. Then it's Ivan Muller in 3rd. Bincliffe now into 4th. Leslie's 5th, but with lesser tyres. Then it's Warwick. Will Hoy's having a good run in 7th. Peter Cox in 8th. Menu only 9th. Then it's Rydell, Cleland, Thompson, Radicic, Anthony Reed. A torrid time. Again, that early stop is going to absolutely ruin him, frankly. And he'll do well, I think, to hold on to 14th or 13th, as he's going to go for James Thompson. But these two, they pitted too early and are now going around with really knackered tyres. Didn't get any benefit from the undercut at all. Struggle bus aplenty. Plato the other one in the struggle, and that's going to probably remove him from championship battlings, as Morbidelli leads the way from Chris Baird. There's Ivan Muller. Bincliffe versus Leslie, and I think Leslie's going to get back through again, even though he's got worse older tyres. Indeed he is. John Bincliffe still on for a top 5 though, if all goes well. Peter Cox moves up into 6th. Will Hoy's got new tyres and is in 7th, but is damaged. There's Warwick in 8th. Alan Menu in 9th, now that he's got round Lee Brooks. Might be able to get round Will Hoy here potentially, because he's damaged. But we'll soon see as Thompson versus Reed continues around that hairpin. Those two have been nose to tail all race long since their pit stops, having a proper good squabble. But look at this. Gianni Morbidelli has been caught by Chris Baird. He's going to go around the outside. Is he going to try and block him in with Giovanardi? No. Morbidelli manages to squeeze through, but Baird uses his boost better. Gets around the outside. Morbidelli can't cope, and someone has been leading with aplomb all the way. He's been caught napping, and Chris Baird has absolutely blasted past on the final lap to take the lead, and this is going to be a surprise but very warmly received win, I think, for Chris Baird in the Ford Mondeo, who is going to surprise everyone with this late form run. Chris Baird wins, Gianni Morbidelli second. Ivan Muller is going to grab third just from David Leslie. John Bincliffe grabs in fifth position. Peter Cox will be sixth. Will Hoy grabs 7. Warwick holds off Menu for 8th and 9th. Then it's Rickard Rydell, John Cleland. James Thompson did see off Anthony Reid in the end. He's only going to get 13th. But when your main rival is only 9th, that is a real loss, I think, for Alain Menu. That could have been something to capitalise on, with Plato and Harvey squabbling around for 14th and 16th behind Radicic. The Alfa Romeo is not really able to capitalise on any of those strategy calls either, with Lorini and Giovanardi. And Gravett and Brooks, again, back at the back. So that could have been the open goal that Alain Menu missed. And it's still 27 points between them. So it could all be sealed in this next round between Reid and Menu. Thompson in third. Plato. Morbidelli moves up into fifth after all of that. Then it's Muller. Baird moves up into 7. Then it's Cleland, Rydell and Leslie. Hoy, Bintcliffe, Warwick and Cox. And then the kind of tail enders of this season towards the back. And that actually, with the implosion basically of Nescafe Laguna and the Renault team, has let the Vodafone Primera team off the hook slightly. And who would have thought that the Mondeos would now be 4th in the championship after all of that? Let's go to the Humber ring. Oh yeah, baby. My Humbers. So, I see a lot of barriers here. This could be a problem. So, a street course round the Humbers. Oh, this does feel very Formula E, doesn't it? But it's Ivan Muller and David Leslie that lead the way. Menu having a good run of things too. It must have been said that last time's race winner, Chris Baird, is right at the very back. Who's going to grab it? Is that going to be a Menu on pole? I think it is, and that is exactly what he needed to do in order to try and keep some kind of championship hope alive. Anthony Reid down in 6th position, I think. We'll soon see how that goes. Who else did well? The Vauxhalls in 7th and 8th, showing a bit more better form and pace here. But yeah, the Mondeo is not great. Hoy 11, Baird down in 16th in a Alfa Romeo sandwich. Tim Harvey not showing his best foot forward against teammate Paul Radicic in quali either. Okay, so again, looks like soft tyres are going to pit and hards might not need to, but this is going to be a race of attrition and damage, I feel, as look at everyone squabbling their way through the tight and twisty Humber circuit. Muller takes the lead though from Muller, then from Menu, then Leslie up into 3rd place and Plato, but they're on hard tyres, and look at Menu squabbling through. Oh, Leslie poking his nose in somewhere I didn't expect it to be as they cross the first lap. It is Menu leading just about from Muller, Leslie and Plato. Leslie there steaming his way through in a very quick closer conditions, but look, lots of drivers in trouble. Lorini had got off to a great start but then got caught up in the barriers, and look at James Thompson in real trouble in that Honda. This is huge for the Honda Accord's championship chances. Peter Cox getting stuck behind him too, so it's ruined both their races really, as they're towards the back end of the field. Danny Giovanardi and Gravett behind them. Even Lee Brooks has managed to do well. And look at how many drivers have had to pop into the pits. Giovanardi's missed it entirely and is trying to get himself in. They've all managed it. But look, Reid in at the end of lap 1 with damage. Has to come out on soft tyres. He'll need to pit again. As will Radicic, Hoy, Cox. There's Giovanardi rejoining at the back, and Alain Menu is leading the way. This is the swing that we were wondering about the championship, whether it could happen or need. Menu is doing everything that he needs to make sure that he's still in contention. David Leslie's into the pits this time around. Ricard Rydell having a look, the Swede on the Frenchman. Oh, he makes a push for it. Is he going to try and take the lead? Yes, he is. Menu keeps himself out of the barriers, and that's just what he needed to do, and keeps the lead of the race. Then it's Ivan Muller, Derek Warwick, Gianni Morbidelli, Cleland, Plato on hard tyres, the top hard-tyred runner. Then it's Chris Baird, who's gone from like 16th to 8th, bizarrely, with all of this. Bincliffe, Lee Brooks in the top 10. Let's take a moment to appreciate that. In the Brooks Accord, our last place in the championship, running in the top half of the field. Then you've got the pitters there. That's Leslie and Reed trying to get themselves round. Leslie manages it. Brooks holds off Reed for a slight moment. Yes, he does. And there we go. Reed trying to push his way round and does so with Brooks. Brooks trying to get back, but that car is a couple of seconds off the pace, so it never will. Gravett, Hoy, Harvey, Cox, Radicic. Then it's Thompson. The Alfa Romeos in the last two positions there, Larini and Giovanardi, both having hard times around this tight and twisty street course. Menu, Muller, Rydell, Warwick, Morbidelli, Cleland, Plato and Baird, your leading 8. This circuit actually flows really quite nicely, I must say, for a kind of made-up street circuit. I'm sure it's made up. We'll soon find out. But Menu really holding on nicely. Lap 7 of 10. 1.5 seconds advantage. Anthony Reid now up into 11th position, so he's making tracks as Tim Harvey pops himself into the pits, and Alain Menu does too, as does Muller and Rydell, and that's crucial. Look, oh, a little bit of love nudging going on there. Warwick and Morbidelli move through into 1 and 2, both yet to pit. Menu will need to be calm dealing with Gianni Morbidelli to get himself through. Ooh, that's one way of doing it. And Morbidelli will try and fight back, but he hasn't got the tyres or the high level of damage to deal with it. As Gravett and Brooks rejoin ahead of Tim Harvey. That shows exactly the problems there for Harvey. As Warwick pits, as does Morbidelli, and that allows Rydell and Muller to get through as well. So Menu leads now by 3 seconds from Ricard Rydell. Muller, Warwick, Bincliffe yet to pit, but now in 5th position. Is he going to try and make his way all the way to the end? He's got quite a bit of damage. Might be worth trying to pit and using the soft-tyred rubber to really push your way through. Cleland and Morbidelli, then it's Leslie. Reed now in 9th position, but look at those tyres, they are not good at all. And with the new softs of Plato and Baird, in fact Reed, they're deciding that it's worth a second pit stop as Plato cuts off Baird. Hoy catches back up again from what was not a great quali. They've made up some good positions there, that team. And Reed back out in 12th, and actually I would say a kind of relatively safe 12th in some ways, as Brooks retakes Harvey in 17th and 18th, as that's Giovanardi and Larini getting in the way for Menu. And look at how Rydell is closed back up again on lap 11 of 15. No longer is that a couple of seconds gap. Rydell is closed right onto the bumper of Alain Menu. Ricard Rydell has had such a weird season, up and down. How he's down in like 8th in the standings, I've no idea. It's just been a tumultuous season for him, but here he comes. Here they come to the back of Tim Harvey, who spanks the barrier very hard. Whew. That kind of helped Alain Menu there, as they come up to the Brooks Accords of Gravett and Brooks, who are running in 16th and 17th position, having a wonderful time. What will happen here? An Anthony Reid check. He's closed down on John Bincliffe, but Bincliffe has been into the pits for soft tyres. So he might actually be better, and that's a problem for Rydell. He got caught out there. Big problems for Ricard Rydell, and that's lost him a second, although Menu has now also had some problems too. So Rydell's closed all the way back up again. Warwick in 3rd, then it's Muller, Cleland, Morbidelli, Leslie on hard tyres now in 7, and it's Plato, Baird, Hoy, Bintcliffe, Reed closing him down. Then it's a big gap back to Thompson, Cox, Radicic, Gravett, Brooks, Harvey, and Larini and Giovanardi at the back. And it looks as if Menu is able to just about hold on. Ooh, that's Plato being absolutely schnooed into the barriers there by Giovanardi, who's going to be last at this rate. And Menu just under a second, clear of Rydell, who is closing down the lead. This isn't quite over just yet, and they've got Paul Radicic up ahead to be lapped. They've got the same tyre life, and if Menu can get round Radicic, which he does, I think that may well have sealed the deal for Menu and brought this championship back within potential reach from what was a 27-point gap. Oh, Rydell right at the line, had a go at it, but Menu wins. A critical win there, ahead of Ricard Rydell, a well-deserved second. Warwick on the podium for Vector in third. Then it's Muller, Cleland, Morbidelli, Leslie with a different strategy there in 7th, Plato. Then it's Baird. Showed Anthony Reid as 10th, so he got past Bintcliffe and Hoy in those last 2 laps. That's crucial for him. James Thompson was then the best of the second kind of half of the field that ran into trouble. And Reid got the fastest lap of the race, interestingly, there too, although I don't think it was scoring points for it. But yeah, only 10 points for Reid against Alan Menu's 30. That's a swing as we go into the final round. I don't know if this game does this on purpose. It feels like it sometimes. The Honda's having a not great show in 13th and 14th. Then it's Radicic, Gravett and Brooks having a great race there for the Brooks Accord team, beating out Tim Harvey. Giovanardi got round Larini at the very end of that race to grab the points, meaning that Formula F1 driver and podium racer Nicola Larini ends up with 0 points. So, going into the final round, Anthony Reid has a 7-point lead over Alain Menu. Who will win? Place your bets. Ricard Rydell is a point clear now of Ivan Muller, who's a point clear of Gianni Morbidelli, who's a point clear of Jason Plato, 2 clear of John Cleland, and 1 clear of James Thompson. And that, I think, shows just how close and interconnected this whole top field is. And that Rydell, who was previously, saying, why is he down in 8 terrible times, suddenly now finds himself 3rd overall. Not far off of that is David Leslie and Chris Baird, who will surely go over the 100-point mark in the final round. Will Hoy will be aiming to do the same there in 11th. Derek Warwick, there's been peaks, but there's been quite a few troughs there in that Vauxhall, down in 12th. Bintcliffe too, they're not quite running at the same level with his teammate, nor has Peter Cox. Radicic has been better than Tim Harvey over the course of the season with his point tally. And interestingly there, with Giovanardi having a couple of real clankers and Rob Gravett grabbing that headliner result earlier on, 16 apiece for them. Marini well clear overall. Constructors, it's a point between the Primera GT and the Lagunas, and it's the Nescafe Gold Blend up in front for the first time this season. Will they lose it at the final round? Who knows? Plenty to play for then as we move into the Birmingham AI race. Of course, this is, I believe, a take on the Birmingham Super Prix, which ran in the early 90s. So let's see how this goes on. Yes, it is. I can kind of tell-ish by what's going on. And it's James Thompson who's decided that he wants to get out in front and lead away. John Cleland having a good run as well early on in this quali session. But it is around James Thompson, Ivan Muller, and I don't see Reid doing particularly well in the first half of this long lap here around the Birmingham Prix circuit. But it's James Thompson that takes the pole quite convincingly, really. If from Jason Plato. Chris Baird is in third. Peter Cox in fourth. So really a Team Honda Accord triumph on the final round. Then it's Menu, Morbidelli, Leslie, Muller, Rydell and Cleland. And oh dear, has Anthony Reid bottled it down in 12th behind Will Hoy. And you can see the rest of the field. So for the final time of asking for the BTCC 1998 mod for Ultimate Racing 2D2. Menu's on hard tyres. So's Reid though, so they've gone for the same starter strategy as, look, Jason Plato rivals James Thompson and takes the lead. Cox has moved up into third, pushing Baird down to 4, ahead of Morbidelli. Menu holds on in 6th position for the time being on his hard tyres, the top hard tyred runner, but everyone's going to need to pit because it's a 6 and a 9 kind of stint going on there. As look, Menu's being absolutely pushed down the order. Muller gets through. Leslie's got round. Rydell's there. Will Hoy's about to dive bomb through the lot of them again on soft tired runs. This is huge for the championship as both are dropping like a stone. Plato leads from Thompson, Cox, Morbidelli, Baird, Hoy. Then it's Warwick and Menu trying to keep themselves at the head of this kind of squabble, but the soft tired runners clearly have the advantage here as Will Hoy gets gobbled back up again by Menu, who needs to be careful because he's getting a lot of damage there. Anthony Reid is not, and look, Reid has now closed back in again onto the back of Menu, who's had a torrid start to this race, dropping down to now 10th, and there's Reid through. That's huge for the championship. Reid ahead despite starting so far behind. Menu now damaged, and you have to kind of say you're going to need to be careful, not that that's a BTCC thing to do, because they've got the SOs either side of them on soft tyres trying to push their way through. Lots of damage for lots of cars. And look at how far up ahead Plato, Thompson, Cox and Morbidelli have got. Oh, that's a penalty for Warwick. And that's not helped Baird and Hoy either in the Ford Mondeos, who are loving this. As into the pits comes Ivan Muller. Very early on, someone else is in too. Is it Reid? It is. Reid has gone onto the soft tyres very early on. I'm not sure they'll last. That could be a 2-stopper for Reid, and I don't think that's going to work. We'll soon find out. It's a weird pit lane here where you do cut off the final chicane, so that could work. Look at Peter Cox. He's not been up in second position all season long, battling with teammate James Thompson. This is great stuff for the Hondas, although they need to make sure that they keep it nice and clean, because otherwise they're going to ruin their problems, especially as they are ahead of the two Fords, who are equally having good races. Warwick there going up into the Vauxhall Vectra 6th position ahead of Chris Baird. There's Rydell, Radicic, Harvey, Larini, Bincliffe, Muller, Giovanardi. There is Reid and Menu. Menu's come back out on hard tyres. He is clearly one stopping. Reid will need to pit again. And look, Alain Menu just dives through and says, no, I'm not having this position. This is all to play for. But they're both down the very back of the field with only the Brooks Accords behind them, really, and the buggered up John Cleland. And David Leslie too. More into the pits, I think, potentially. No, we're okay. Nicola Larini running at the highs of 11th position for the time being, and this will be crucial because Bincliffe and Muller are battling away. They want to make sure that they are scoring as much points as possible, and there's Menu now clawing up onto the back. He's going to want to try and clear as many of these cars as possible, as Giovanardi has got round Anthony Reid at some point as well, and he's on hard tyres. There we go, they dispose of Nicola Larini in the Alfa Romeo. That car not quite on the same level as the rest. Into the pits comes Harvey, Radicic. There's Rickard Rydell, who is definitely wanting to secure or keep his third place as Muller there runs out very wide. There's Menu continuing on. Oh my goodness, this is an absolute corker of a battle going on up front as the two Ford Mondeos play destruction derby with each other. Morbidelli trying to get round Warwick too. Warwick heavily damaged. I wonder if he'll pop into the pits this time around. Yes, he does. As does Will Hoy. Up front, it's still Plato, Thompson and Cox, though, the lead trio, and they've got a decent gap over Morbidelli, who is on the hard tyres and won't want to pit again. And this is the key here. Does Plato, Thompson and Cox need to pit again? I would argue potentially yes, but they might be able to stretch it out to the end because they've got such a big gap on. Then it's Baird, Rydell, Warwick, Hoy, Muller, Radicic. Reid is back ahead of Menu in all of that. That's huge for the championship. And look at Anthony Reid really pulling seconds now over Alain Menu. Although as soon as he rocks up to the back of Yves Van Muller, he starts to run into trouble, and it's all around the traffic, I think. There's Harvey and Cleland and co all running behind. Plato has been absolutely superb so far this race, as has Thompson, and as is Peter Cox doing his best of the season as well. Morbidelli is closing them down on those hard tyres, interestingly. I think those lead trio could make it to the end. It's just whether or not Morbidelli is able to do anything much about them. As look, Reid is into the pits again. Where does this drop him out? That's David Leslie going for it. That's his teammate. He won't hold up too much space, you'd think, either. So Reid now in 15th, Menu in 10th. Oh, that's pretty much bang on where Menu needs to be to get the championship. But Reid now on new soft tyres will be absolutely wanting to bomb it round. Here he comes onto David Leslie on the back. As you can see just in the background there, that was Larini and Bincliffe going at it for 16th and 17th positions. You have to say, actually, as there's Baird and Radicic through, that's given Menu more positions. This is going to be tricky. Now, in theory, Harvey and Baird should be faster with those new... oh no, Harvey's on old tyres. It's Baird who's on the new ones. Cleland on old hards. There you go, Anthony Reid now ahead of David Leslie. I don't think there's enough cars between Menu and Reid at the moment that Reid won't be able to overtake by the time we get to the end of this race. Plato leading the way, coming round to lap Rob Gravitt quite soon. He's still got James Thompson for company though. Morbidelli has got round Peter Cox, who's dropped off the back of that like a stone. They must have had some kind of coming together. And here comes James Thompson looking at Plato for the win. Thompson there makes a little bit of a mistake. They've got Gravitt coming up to lap soon. There's Rydell and Warwick. Rydell and Thompson obviously battling away for that third overall. Baird's not too far off the back of that. Menu makes a bit of a mistake. Still ahead of Radicic and Cleland and Muller. There's Harvey. But that's Anthony Reid, who I think would quite fancy it. And I think Morbidelli is about to take the win. There is Plato really struggling with his tyres. Morbidelli has got round Thompson. Cox has rejoined back in, and look, Cox gets pushed in for a penalty. Morbidelli takes the lead of this race with the hard tyres. Thompson and Plato and Cox, they're all struggling away. Cox has been in for a second stop. That's what's caused the interesting drama here. Now with Cox with 2 to go, or 1.5 to go, look, he disposes of Plato, he gets round to teammate Thompson. Is Peter Cox going to potentially take the win here? With his 2 stopping race, Reid has got past Harvey. Menu is now down to 10th behind Paul Radicic and Chris Baird. That now means I think Anthony Reid is the championship leader as we start the final lap. Morbidelli versus Cox. Who's going to get their win of the season? On the final round, it's going to be close, and this is crucial for Morbidelli actually, because if he gets this, I think this will put him into 3rd in the standings, bizarrely, overall. Cox versus Morbidelli. I think it's going to be Morbidelli because Giovanardi's got in the way. It'll be close though. But no. Gianni Morbidelli takes the final win of the season. Peter Cox, best of the season, in 2nd. Rydell in 3rd. That's huge for that team, actually. Then it's James Thompson in 4. Plato will be 5. Warwick will be 6. Or will he? No, Chris Baird will be 6. Just beating home Derek Warwick. Ever unlucky. Will Hoy 8. Paul Radicic gets a good 9. Ivan Muller will be 10. Menu only 11, Cleland 12, and that gives Anthony Reid 13th and the championship. Well done to Anthony Reid. That was a weird finale where in the last 2 races Reid really did have terrible runs of form, but they've been able to do it. But what I will say is that between him and his teammate David Leslie, they've absolutely dunked the constructors at that last round, because that's a poor result for the team and a great result for the Nescafe Renault Lagunas. So I'm sure that will see a change there too. Larini beaten Cliff, Giovanardi, Brooks ahead of Gravett. So, yep, there we go. Anthony Reid does indeed take the championship win ahead of Alain Menu by 5 points. It looked like it was going to be an absolute clear sailing in the first half for Anthony Reid, so a real change of forms there. Gianni Morbidelli grabbed third in the end from Ricard Rydell, somewhat of a surprise if you looked at reality, I think. Jason Plato was in fifth, ahead of James Thompson in sixth, Ivan Muller, Chris Baird, John Cleland and David Leslie rounds out your top 10. Will Hoy did get over the 100-point mark, which was great for him in 11. Then it was Derek Warwick. Peter Cox with that excellent final second place somewhat redeemed a bit of his season up into 13th. Binkcliffe kind of all on his own in 14th, not quite attached to the rest of those top 7 teams. Then Radicic did beat out Tim Harvey over the course of the season. Larini did the same with Giovanardi. And Rob Gravett beat out Lee Brooks as well. And there you can see it. Nescafe Laguna wins the championship, and not from Vodafone. Wow, the Volvo snuck into second position and nearly took it away from the Renault Lagunas. I didn't even expect that. Wow. So the Vodafone Primera GT team dropped from first to third in the final 2 rounds. The Ford Mondeos ended up in fourth after all of that, beating out the Team Honda Accords to fifth. Vauxhall slipped down to sixth. Audi slipped down to 7. The SO Ultrons kind of really in their no man's land there in 8th. The Alfa Romeos in 9th and the Brooks Accords in 10th. And there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. Ultimate Racing 2D2 continues to give plenty of fun and frolics and frills and spills. My name's Simon Smith. I hope you enjoy these series. I love doing them. There'll no doubt be another one coming out very, very soon. You look after yourselves, enjoy your motorsport and your esports, and have a good race.